Hi guys, let's have another look at sublimation, and this time purely a 6.5 inch by 2.8 inch mug template. Now it's a template because you can reuse it as many times as you like, and I'm going to make it with different images in individual letters, just like the previous video that I did, only this one exactly the size for a mug to start with. And I'm using Affinity Photo for Windows on the PC. A Sublimation Special, you might say, for 6.5 inch by 2.8 inch size mug. Very common mug size. So here's a quick step-by-step tutorial on how to put individual images inside individual letters to start with. And you can use any images you like. Now, first up, create a new mug workspace. Now, if you look at the image carefully, what I've done here, launch Affinity Photo, create a new document. Now, A4 is fine for our needs because it's the right size. So just accept the defaults. Now, create a preset with it by setting the background to transparent. As soon as you do that, the preset will move from A4 to custom. And you can rename the preset, as I did, to 6.5 by 2.8 mug. Then click Create. Note that the project is still an A4 size sheet. And although it's showing millimetres there, what I did was go back and change it to inches, so I know what I'm dealing with. Now your blank worksheet, and now we can set up our mug template. We've got a blank A4 sheet, transparent. Open the Guides Manager and enter the guides as shown. Now the horizontal guide you see there, 3.446, 5.846, 8.246, that's the height, 2.8 inches of your mug. Now the verticals, 0.884, another one at 4.134, and the final one at 7.384. Now that is the size of your mug, the printing area that you'll be using for the mug. So we now have a mug template centered on the A4 page. The two panels at the extreme right and left are the mug handle area. So you don't want your images right up to the side because you'll be trying to do the sublimation onto the handles, and that won't work. So let's put a textured background behind it. I've put an Spot SVG behind the whole thing, and it shows up because the transparency of this project is set to transparent. You may have other designs you prefer. So place the ink spot image. Place a white rectangle behind it so you can see it easily. And what I did was place a pale blue rectangle on the mug area. You can turn that off when you're finished, as you don't want to print it. That's just there so you can see it, where your template area is. And you'll notice that the little black spots are way outside that printable area. We'll come back to that. So you can resize the ink spot image to suit the boundaries of your inner rectangle. But using an artistic text tool, drag out the word love. Set the font to Abril Fat Face, which is widely available and generally free. Set to the centre vertically and horizontally, so it's in the middle of your rectangle. Now I've got that filling the rectangle there so that I get a clear image within those letters. Now here's the trick. Select the text layer, you can see it on the right hand side, then select layers in the top toolbar. Then select convert to curves, which is way down the list once you show the layer toolbar, tool set if you like. Now in the layers panel we notice that there's a group made up of the letters as individual curves in their own layer. So you can see the original layer and all the letters are now curves, which is just what we want, individual letters. Now that we have our individual letters, we can locate images or patterns to place in each letter. Let's take the first letter L. We'll put an image inside that we can pull in from the Stock tab. You will doubtless have your own images that you want in the letters, and you will notice that it's very large. The ones that come in from the stock images, way larger than we need, but that's alright because we're going to mask it shortly. The best way to reduce the size so it's manageable is in the Transform Studio. Tap the lock beside the width and height to force the aspect to lock in place and reduce one side so it brings the image down to size. Don't worry, we'll resize it again in a moment to get just the bit you want. So now we have the size we want, a good size to start with. Of course, the larger the letters to start with, the more image you will fit in it. Now we can move our image into place, making sure it's just above the L layer, which is where you want it to start with. Now select the image and drag it down to halfway into the L layer. Let it go and it will be masked by the letter L. And you can see it there. Now all you can see is the branches of the tree, and I've moved it around because you can still move the image around to get the best aspect for it that you want. You can even resize it. Now here I've resized the image to highlight the little bird that was sitting on one of the branches in the original image. So let's complete the other letters. Adjust the size to best fit the letter. Then drag the image layer into the letter as before. You'll see when you first place it, it goes right up the top there. Well, you drag it down to just above the letter that you want to place it in. Now, you can see there I've got all the images are in place. Different images for each letter. Now let's dress it up a little with some effects. You duplicate the L layer to start with and remove the image sublayer so you're just left with the letter L. Bring it below the original and colour it. Go back to the original layer and reduce its opacity to 65%. A nice blue cast to the original L appears. While still on the original layer, go to FX and add an outer shadow that complements the L colour and apply the settings as shown. You might have to experiment with that because it will depend on the colours, the image and the letters you use. So spend some time and just adjust that to suit your needs, and then you can make each letter the same. Your layers should now look something like this, and repeat the process with all letters. Different colours, different letters. So with all letters complete, you start to see the benefits of being able to edit each letter individually. Now there's a few more little things to do. Let's adjust the textured background behind it. Let's bring the ink spots into the actual mug area, that is, within the blue rectangle area. The area to the right and left is the area where the mug handles will be. Now this design is made to wrap around as far as possible. And even so, you may find once you measure the real life mug that you might need to adjust it slightly, given that all mugs are slightly different sizes, but this one is 6.5 by 2.8 as a working size. Now, you've got your blue background, you've got your words in there. And you can see I've dragged the ink spots into the actual mug printing area and removed the blue background. You can see I've highlighted the ink spots and reduced its size using the Transform Studio and brought it down to just a little bit larger than the area I needed. I wanted to do that so I can emphasize that it's slightly outside the printing area, but if you like you could compress that quite easily within the printing area. And it gives the mug a bit of a grungy look, even though it has the word love on it. But of course you could use any background you like there. I just used the ink spots as though you've left it quite near the photocopier. Your finished mug sublimation image. when that's printed out, 6.5 by 2.8, that will sublimate onto your mug perfectly. Just like that. Your finished mug. Now you'll notice again I've used the original, slightly different images, and I had a friend press it. I did not press this, a friend did. You'll notice that I can press the letters slightly to move them to the centre of this facing side. So that's easy enough to do. You can compress the letters without losing, what would you call it? Intelligibility or readability. And that's up to you to experiment. So thanks for watching. I hope you find this useful in your crafting and design. Please remember to subscribe and tap the thumbs up. That helps me to count who's been watching and who hasn't, and the bell if you want reminders of new videos.